Hello, Bish. Hello friends, welcome back to the Chanel. I'm sorry, we are experiencing a heat wave in Southern California right now, so I have a fan going on. And also I'm sure you guys are noticing that I'm in a totally different background. I'm actually at my sister's apartment right now. But anyway, you guys, this is my first ever Q&A. So you may or may not know that recently this channel has hit 50,000 subscribers. Like, we are halfway to 100K. I'm just feeling extremely grateful. Thank you all for being here and for supporting this channel. And I just thought a fun way to celebrate was to maybe go ahead and do a Q&A since I've never done one before. And I thought it'd be a nice way for maybe you longtime viewers or for newcomers to just get to know me a little bit more. I just know there's some topics that I don't really talk about so much in my vlogs and my day-to-day videos. So I thought this would be a nice opportunity for you guys to ask some questions that haven't been answered before. So yeah, I have them here all on my laptop and I tried to organize them because I did get quite a few more questions than I was expecting. And just to save some time so this video doesn't end up being too long, I'm going to be answering the questions that got asked pretty frequently. So I'm so sorry if I don't get to your specific question this time around, but there will definitely be some more Q&As in the future if you guys like them. Okay, so the way I have this organized, first we'll get into some general questions, and then there was a lot of questions regarding Japan and living there, and then of course, last but not least, we'll dive into my love life. All right, so let's start with the easy stuff. Birth date and year. I was born on February 21st, 1996. She's a Pisces. Naraleen asks, how did you come up with the idea to create the channel? I feel like I've actually never talked about this before on YouTube. So I actually started my YouTube channel all the way back when I was in high school. If you guys have scrolled all the way back on my channel, there's still some videos that I have from those times. I've privated most of them because they're really embarrassing. And you guys, I'm old. Like, I was around for the genesis of YouTube and I thought it was the coolest thing. Like, the fact that you can talk into a camera and reach potentially thousands to millions of people from your bedroom was just a concept that was not around at the time. So I was always so fascinated with it. And at the time, I was really into like the beauty girls on YouTube. So I started making like DIYs and makeup tutorials. But anyway, life just got really busy and I went off to college. And it wasn't until 2020, I was living in Japan for about a year at that point. But because of the pandemic, I lost one of my jobs and I had a lot of free time on my hands and I had no idea what to do. I didn't know if I wanted to move back to America or not, but I don't know why. I just had this inner voice that was saying, now is the time. Like, you're living in Japan. It's just such a perfect opportunity to document my life during this amazing era of my youth. And I've always flirted with the idea of restarting my YouTube again. So it all just kind of came together in 2020 and I finally started making videos regularly and I haven't looked back since. So sorry, that was a really long answer for your question. Heidi asked, how was spending time in Italy? Did anything in the culture specifically shock you? Definitely. So as you guys know, I just came back from a 6-week trip in Italy to visit my boyfriend. It was a magical trip, but there's definitely a lot of things that gave me culture shock. The way Italians communicate, it sounds like a lot of the times they're fighting and arguing, which I just wasn't used to. I thought there was like always conflict going on, but it turns out they're just really passionate. And I thought Americans were pretty feisty and loud, but no, Italians were on another level. Ooh, and I did get a couple questions about like a possible makeup tutorial or my favorite makeup products and tips. If you guys want to see the types of products that I enjoy using, I have made a couple like Japanese and Korean makeup hauls. But if you guys want me to actually make a makeup tutorial, please comment down below because I'm not sure how many of you guys would want to see that, because I feel like the makeup that I do is pretty basic and standard. But honestly, I really like to see some of my favorite YouTubers do makeup tutorials because I just want to see what their like ride or die holy grail products are. So let me know. Okay, so I got quite a few questions just asking about my general future plans, like what would my dream life be, or where do I see myself in 5 years time. So thinking about the future can be a little overwhelming and scary for me sometimes, as I'm sure it is for everyone. So I kind of like to think of my future in terms of like the macro vision and more like micro tiny goals that I want to achieve maybe within the next year or so. So I guess for my macro future plans, I definitely want to be a mother sometime, maybe within the next 5 years or so, which is pretty shocking for me to say because honestly, when I was in my early 20s, I was pretty convinced that I was never gonna want to have children. I was definitely struggling with mental health a lot at the time and actually had a pretty nihilistic perception of the world, but things really turned around within, I'd say, the past 2 years. My perspective on things have just completely changed, and I'm not sure what really brought that on. I don't know if it's just with age and gaining a little bit more wisdom, and it turns out I'm way more optimistic than I thought. I think I've just gone through a lot of challenges and difficulties that I have pushed myself through, and time again, I always come out on the other side fine. So sorry, I think I'm kind of straying away from the original question here, but yes, in the future, I hope to have a family one day, and I think in my dream life, I would live somewhere near the ocean. I'm just always and forever will be a beach girl at heart, and of course, I still see YouTube in the future as well. I hope this channel continues to grow and I'm able to sustain myself with it, and I'm also hoping that there'll be some more projects other than YouTube. I'm still not sure what that might look like. All right, I actually also got a couple questions about what I do for work. A lot of people ask, are you working right now or doing YouTube full-time? Are you a full-time YouTuber? Is YouTube your main job or do you work someplace else? Do you have some other kind of work in California besides creating content? So a lot of you guys seem to be interested in this. I think because when I was living in Japan and doing YouTube, I shared with you guys that I was working part-time, but now that I'm back here in America, I was not able to carry over that job I had in Japan over here. So actually, yes, I am doing YouTube full-time now. This wasn't necessarily the plan. I didn't know if I would want to get a new full-time job here, doing something part-time, but because I moved in with my parents and I'm saving so much with rent right now, thank you, Mom and Dad. And in my last 2 years of living in Japan, I was adamantly saving up. So I did have a little bit to fall back on. I just kind of thought that this was the best setup for me to really pursue YouTube full time and basically give it a shot and see if I could make this my full-time work. So it's definitely not paying the bills, I'll tell you that much. I definitely want to feel more financially secure. I'd love to move out of my parents' house eventually, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna keep hustling with YouTube. All right, so we got a ton of questions about Japan, so why don't we just jump into it? So C asks, what was one of the most culture shock moments when first living in Japan that stood out to you? So actually, the culture shock that I faced in Japan was one of my first videos that I filmed when I restarted my channel. I went over like 7 or 8 different culture shock moments in that video, so make sure to check it out. So another question was, how easy or difficult was it to live in Tokyo? I did get a couple questions about how difficult it was or what were the most difficult points. I would say the most difficult part about living in Tokyo is just getting all the admin stuff down, like going to the city ward and registering, opening up your bank account, getting your health insurance. Like all of those things were really difficult because a lot of the times they didn't have English ability. My Japanese is just conversational, so there was a lot of times where I felt really frustrated and pretty defeated trying to get these things sorted out on my own. And I would imagine that if you have to get a visa to live in Japan, that will probably also be the most difficult part about living there. But in some ways, it was pretty easy to live in Tokyo just because I think that Tokyo is such a convenient city to live in. The public transportation is amazing. There's always a convenience store or supermarket nearby. There's tons of activities to do. You'll never get bored. So there's definitely pros and cons. That's actually another video that I made. If you want me to go more in depth, check that out. The next question is, are you gonna go back to Japan anytime soon? I really hope that I'll get to go, fingers crossed, maybe next year in 2023. But as you guys know, Japan's being a little bit weird about opening up their borders still. So it's just, I don't know what's happening. This freaking heat wave, man. So I got some questions about working in Japan. How did you look for jobs in Japan? What were your qualifications? And like what types of jobs that you could get in Japan. I also made a whole video about what kind of work you could get in Japan, so I'll link that as well. Ooh, this is a good one. How did you make friends in Japan? So believe it or not, Bumble BFF. not sponsored. I surprisingly met some really cool people from Bumble BFF, and actually got one of my jobs from one of the friends that I met there. And there was also times where I met someone from Bumble BFF and they invited me out and I met all of their friends. So your network just kind of grows. You just have to put yourself out there. I'm a very introverted person by nature, but when I moved to Japan, it really forced myself to put myself out there. Some people ask, do I think I'll ever go back to Japan to live long term, or am I set staying in the US for the rest of my adult life? Honestly, I'm open to moving back to Japan. I think the only reason I have a little bit of hesitancy is when I think about where I want to raise children. I'm still not really sure, and I'm quite indecisive about that. I guess I'll figure it out when the time comes. What kind of job was I doing in Japan? So the first couple jobs that I got, like my first big girl job, was doing social media marketing. I was a media studies major in college. So I did a couple jobs with social media marketing, but eventually I just ended up doing English teaching part-time. It was mostly because I was making more money teaching English part-time than when I was working full-time. So it was the obvious choice, and then I'd have more time to work on YouTube as well. Brandon asks, what did you miss the most about the USA apart from family, friends, when you lived in Japan? And what do you miss the most from Japan now? Oh, that's a tough one, because obviously I was gonna say I miss my friends and family the most. But I think another thing that I really missed about the US is how chatty and friendly strangers are to each other. In Tokyo specifically, because it's a population of like 30 million people, it's the largest city in the world, and for such a populated city to function, people need order. People in Japan are very orderly. Everyone is very polite. Everyone is super efficient. And I don't know if this is a California thing, but I just really missed the relaxed feel, the friendliness from people. Like, you're literally just chatting with people left and right, whether you're grocery shopping or talking to your waiter. Even though I'm introverted, I didn't realize that I was gonna miss this so much. So that's probably what I miss most about the US. But what I miss the most about Japan now, I don't know if this is gonna be too vague, but I just miss the whole atmosphere. I loved being in Japan so much. I just moved back because obviously with the pandemic Lovato, I wasn't able to see my family for 2 years and I was just getting really homesick. So I did decide to come back. But if that never happened and I was able to come home like once a year, I wonder if I would still be in Japan now. I think about that quite a lot. All right, we're almost there, you guys. So the last questions are regarding my love life. The question I got most is, are you and your boyfriend planning to live together again at some point? So I understand why you guys are curious about this question, because honestly, I would love to know the answer as well. Currently, my boyfriend and I are still doing long distance. He's back in Italy, I'm here in California, but I did visit him in Italy, so hopefully he's gonna come and visit me in California soon. But this is something that we talk about all the time. We really are trying to figure out what the future holds for us and where we see ourselves in the future, where we want to live. But that's still in the works, and I don't have an answer for you guys. I'm so sorry. But if you have any suggestions or advice, please let me know. Oh, and also I was asked how my boyfriend and I met. So it's not a crazy story. We actually met at the very first job that I was working at in Japan. So he told me that he actually noticed me when I first interviewed, but I didn't notice him until the first day on the job. I had to introduce myself to everyone in the company, and I was going around saying hello to everyone. And with him, I just really noticed his smile. It was like radiant. It was just one of those smiles that really stuck with me. But it's not like I developed a crush on him or anything afterwards. Even though we were both on the marketing team, we actually didn't really talk to each other at all. So in Japan, a lot of the companies force you to go to these monthly drinking parties, which sounds kind of fun because it's like with all your coworkers and stuff. But when you feel obligated to go out drinking with your boss after a long day of work, it just doesn't hit. Can you tell that I didn't like my boss? But anyway, after one of these drinking parties, me and my coworkers were all trying to go home and figure out which train line everyone wanted to go on. And me and my boyfriend, well, I guess he wasn't my boyfriend at the time. Me and my bubs, we found out that we lived really close to each other. So we actually took the same train line home. and he was such a gentleman. He walked me all the way home, and that was the first time that I actually got to talk with him outside of work. So yeah, I eventually ended up leaving that company, and I invited him to hang out again, and we just ended up dating after that, and the rest is history. All right, you guys, so those are all the questions I'm going to answer for today's Q&A because my battery is about to run out. But thank you guys so much for sending in the questions. I had a really fun time answering them. And if you guys want to see another Q&A in the future, please let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.